Welcome to Talk Travel with Heather Tate, North Mississippi's podcast for savvy travelers. Talk Travel with Heather Tate is a weekly podcast that airs every Monday on the Shark 102.3 FM radio station based in Ripley, Mississippi, and is then released as a podcast. Travel advisor and travel enthusiast Heather Tate of Whimsical Destinations gives listeners expert travel tips curated through the years of personal and professional experience. By clicking subscribe, you'll have a new travel tip to add to your collection delivered to your podcast library every Monday. Talk Travel with Heather Tate is brought to you by Sun Bear Studio. Sun Bear Studio is a boutique recording studio in the heart of Ripley, Mississippi. When you record with us at Sun Bear Studio, we can mix, master, register, and publish your music, your podcast, or your family story. Email us when you're ready at sunbear@jc.media.
Good morning, Northeast Mississippi travelers. This is Heather with Talk Travel with Heather Tate, and I am so excited to share my adventures and tried and true tips with you, whether you are also a seasoned traveler, a hopeful traveler, or currently an armchair traveler, meaning you're going to follow along with us from home for now. This is our 132nd episode of Talk Travel with Heather Tate, and this week we're going to talk about going from trash to trolls. Now, you may be confused right now, but I'm going to try to clear things up. There is a new exhibit at the Memphis Botanical Gardens this spring that features everyone's favorite forest giants. Well, maybe not yet, but they will be, I promise you. So beginning this week, actually, I think they officially were installed January 30th to February 1st, but going all the way through May 21st. So you've got plenty of time to check these out. The Danish sculpture artist Thomas Dambo has 6 of his 87 colossal trolls on display. And this is the closest they have ever been to Northeast Mississippi. So, in fact, these trolls are found on 5 different continents and 20 different countries, such as Denmark, France, Germany, China, South Korea, Chile, and all throughout the United States. Now, I first found out about these trolls when we took a trip to Breckenridge, Colorado. And there was one of the trolls in the woods that you got to hike on a trail. It was covered in snow, and you got to see them. And these are larger-than-life trolls that were all created from recyclable materials. And their popularity has taken off. They are all throughout the U.S., like I mentioned. You can see them Colorado. There's a whole group of them in Kentucky, which is on my bucket list to go to this beautiful forest that has them spread out throughout the area. The Detroit Lakes in Minnesota, Michigan State, Washington, Oregon, Rhode Island, Vermont, New Jersey. There's a lot in Ohio, which I'm upset to find out that they were in Dayton, Ohio, and I could have gone to see them last year. Chicago. And there's a rotating exhibit, and that is what is coming to Memphis in the Botanical Gardens. So these trolls were in Atlanta, and when I saw them 2 years ago, we went for a spring break trip when we stayed in the Llama Cottage and went to the Botanical Gardens in Atlanta and saw the trolls. These are the exact same trolls. They most recently have been in Virginia. So they've gone from Virginia now, and now they are in Memphis. So this is, like I said, the closest that they have been to Northeast Mississippi. So this is going to make a fantastic day trip, or spring break trip especially. We're going to have an episode in a couple of weeks giving you some ideas for where to go for spring break if you haven't already planned your spring break adventure. And this would be one of the things at the top of my list because it is a limited time only. So a little bit more information, background information about these interesting trolls by Thomas Dambo is, like, in 2011, this artist felt convicted that our earth was drowning in trash while we are running out of natural resources. That's a direct quote from him. And so he thought, why not make something beautiful? We're familiar with the whole from trash, someone's trash is someone else's treasure. And he took that to heart. So he started building these. and then they became more and more popular. And they're oftentimes in, like I said, botanical gardens or forest or places where it's inviting people to come into nature. And when you look at them, you would not even realize that, they are made from trash. They are recyclable, renewable materials. So when we went a couple of years ago, it was almost like a fun scavenger hunt to go see the different ones, because each one's different. They're doing different things. Some are standing, some are sitting, some are laying down, some are kneeling. So they're great for taking pics with the kids. The kids love them, and you can have great conversations. So why should you go see these? Not only is it a motivation to go to different parts of the country or even the world, if you're going somewhere and they're nearby, it's a great idea to see them. It encourages art, a love for the environment, encouraging sustainability, recycling. And I think it's a great conversation with your children to have, talking about renewable resources. Like, why should we make something from trash, from plastic, from discarded materials, and turn it into an art piece? So not only does it give you something to do for a day trip, going to Memphis and having a new activity and getting to see something that really is a great piece of art, having an outdoor adventure, like being in nature, but it can also encourage your children's own creative abilities, own creativity and talents. So when you get back home, have them create something from trash and turned it into a piece of art. And that's a way to take the adventure one step further. When we went to Atlanta, the boys would have been 2 years younger then, so they would have been 10 and 6. And so those were really fun ages for them to get to see the trolls that are, when I say they tower over you, I'm going to have pictures. I already have some links on our Facebook group, Heather and Logan Tate, Whimsical Destinations. And I'll share the ones from Atlanta, which will be the ones you'll get to see in Memphis. And I'll also share the one we saw in Breckenridge. Now, some of you may be thinking, oh, I've been to Anarchista in Gatlinburg, in downtown Gatlinburg, where you take the sky lift and go up the mountain. And there's a giant troll there that will change by the season, like his decorations. That is not one of Thomas Dambo's trolls. It is a giant troll, but it is not one of the pieces of art. It's a different artist who does that one. So if you've seen that one, that is not the same as if you've seen. You'll see pictures and you'll know what I'm talking about. But it makes for a great spring break road trip, right? Like, you don't think, okay, what are you going to do for spring break? I'm going to go see some giant trolls. And I love that there's so many nearby, meaning like that you could make a road trip to. Dayton, Ohio, definitely. The Bernheim Forest in Kentucky. That is going to be, I promise, it is going to be a future podcast episode, because I am trying to find a way that I can even get there this year. I have so many weekend trip ideas, and Kentucky is top of my list for that. Maybe this fall, that could be a really fun idea. Also, there's several in Florida. There's some near Miami. So I'm thinking of ways that when I'm already going to a certain destination, I want to check. There's a troll map and I will put that link also on our Facebook group. So if you haven't already joined it, be sure to, because I'm going to put some of these resources on there where you can see, okay, well, here's where I'm already going. This is a trip we already have planned. Are there any trolls nearby that you can make it to where you're doing a scavenger hunt all throughout the U.S. Whenever you go somewhere near that has them, you go check them out, because they are all different themes. They all have names. They all have stories to them. And I'll also share that website, Thomas Dambo, the Danish artist website, where you can read about the different trolls, when they were created, where they're located, and if there's a story behind them. So that's what I mean for your spring break, or any time this spring, going from trash to trolls and getting to see them in real life. That is all the time we have for this week's episode of Talk Travel with Heather Tate. I hope whatever you do this week, you choose to make it an adventure. Life is short. Make those memories together with your family, with your loved ones. Take the trip. You won't regret it. And be sure to tune in next week because we have some great ideas for Valentine's.
This show is made possible by JC Media, LLC in Ripley, Mississippi. JC Media owns the Shark 102.3 Classic Rock FM radio station where the show is hosted, and Sun Bear Recording Studio where the interviews are recorded. We need your feedback and support. If you listen to the podcast on a player like iTunes, Google Podcasts, or Amazon Music, please subscribe to the show and leave us a review. We also have an email in which you can share your feedback. That email is theshark1023@gmail.com. Subscribe to our podcast on your favorite app or stream episodes online at shark1023.com/podcasts. Today's episode was produced by Melinda Marsalis. It was edited by Rick Williams and engineered by Chris Marsalis. The podcast technician is Joyce Grady.